Good morning and welcome to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. And as always, we're back with another massive show to bring you on this Friday morning. But before we jump into that, please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new, and let's get straight on into it. So on the show this morning, we're going to be talking a little bit about the Antony situation. He has now arrived back in the UK and he has been with the Greater Manchester Police being interrogated ultimately. So we will talk about that in a little bit. We're also going to be talking about Manchester United targeting a 50 million euros wonderkid from Brazil. This is coming in from Fabrizio Romano. We'll be talking about that, of course. We'll also be giving you a bit of an update on the Jadon Sancho situation, looking at where he's going to potentially leave for in January and who's going to be the best replacement for him. As always, get involved in the comment section, get involved in the live chat. Let me know your thoughts on everything we discuss on today's show. So let's start with this then. Let's start off with the Antony situation. So let's give you a bit of a timeline. About 15 hours ago, there was a story coming out saying that Antony was pictured travelling to the police station for questioning regarding allegations made against him by Gabriella Cavallin. Obviously, it's domestic abuse, assault type allegations. It then goes on to say that Antony was pictured leaving the police station in Manchester today after 5 hours of interrogation over his ex's claims. Antony is said to have voluntarily headed to the police station to face the allegations. So hopefully that this now finds a solution relatively quickly. I mean, the fact that he's gone to the police station willingly himself and been there for 5 hours, that's absolutely mad, isn't it? Apparently he also was willing to hand over his phone to them so they could see all the messages for themselves and all the rest of it. The story also says that apparently the alleged victim, Gabriella, will also be flying to the UK in the next couple of days to go to Greater Manchester Police to also be questioned in relation to this, these claims that have been made by her. What will come from this, I'm not sure at this stage. I mean, looking at it from the outside looking in, Antony's doing all the right things. Whether he's innocent or not, obviously I don't know. I don't live inside Antony's head, so I can't tell you whether he's innocent or not. But from sitting from an outside perspective, he's doing all of the things that make you think that he is innocent. But obviously we don't know that for sure, do we? So we'll have to wait and see what happens there. But let me know what your thoughts are on this situation. Do you think Antony will be back in the Manchester United squad quickly, or do you think that this is just going to be one that drags on and on and on and on? I think it could. I said this on the show a couple of days ago. I don't think we'll see Antony in a Manchester United shirt before Christmas. So what's that, December? I'd be very, very surprised. But you never know. You absolutely never know. He's been very, very upfront about all of these claims. Obviously he did that interview in Brazil. He's been posting on his Instagram. Like, he's been very determined, let's say, to clear his name. And he seems like he's really, really putting a lot of emphasis on it. Whereas with the Mason Greenwood situation, it got, obviously, all of these horrible things got put up on Twitter. And then we literally didn't hear anything from him for over a year, nothing. So I don't know. I'm not sure what, from a legal perspective, which way is better, to be silent or to be very upfront and very, I want to clear my name. I'm going to put the photos out. I'm going to put the WhatsApp messages out. I don't know. I'm not sure what the right answer is here. And it's two completely polar opposite situations. You've got the Mason Greenwood one, which was very secretive. Nobody knew what was going on. Everyone was just kind of speculating. Whereas you've got Antony, who's literally making the investigation happen himself. He's the one that's leading it. He's the one that's trying to clear his name. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with this one. Obviously, it's not ideal for Manchester United at the moment because it now looks like Mason Mount's going to be playing on the right-hand side, some of which I know some people in the fan base really want to see that. I'm open to it, but I think the fact that we've got, a 100 million euro player, Antony, who's unable to play football. We've got a 75 million pounds player, Jadon Sancho, who's refusing to apologise and play football. I mean, it doesn't look particularly great, does it? Our last two right wingers, a combined value of nearly 200 million euros, and both of them are unable to play for one reason or another. I mean, it's pretty embarrassing from Manchester United's perspective, isn't it? It really, really is. And when you get these stories coming out that apparently, the alleged victims and all the rest of it of the Antony situation was already known before he joined Manchester United, it does make you question who is doing the checks on these players. And the same with Jadon Sancho. Obviously, you get all these stories coming out from Dortmund, you get all these stories coming out from Man City that he's had a disciplinary issue ever since he was at Manchester City. I mean, did Manchester United think that they were going to be able to bring these players in and, make the situation better? I don't really know, to be honest. I think it just screams another high level of incompetence. But yeah, let's see what happens with that one. Obviously, let me know what your thoughts are on this one, and yeah, we'll keep you updated as and when we get more information on it. So let's talk a little bit about this story coming out from Fabrizio Romano about, so the player is called, this is coming direct from Fabrizio. He says, Manchester United scouts have been recently tracking Brazilian midfielder Loran. He has a release clause of 50 million euros in his current deal at, he plays for Flamengo in the Brazilian league. Now, I've been watching some videos on him since this story came out, and this guy looks like the real deal. He really, really does. He's just signed to the same agency as Neymar. I think it's Rock Nation, the agency that Jay-Z owns. He looks like the real deal. He really, really does. And he's definitely somebody that I would like to see at Manchester United. He's only 17 years of age. He is attracting a lot of interest from many, many different clubs. And I would absolutely love it, right, if we actually started signing players from Brazil. I know we have Casemiro, I know we have Martinez, but we bought them once they were already superstars. I would love it if we started bringing in, you know, these superstar players from the Brazilian league straight to Manchester, and we started developing them into the, you know, the next Neymar, the next Martinelli, etc. I would absolutely love it if we started to do that. But apparently he's one of the, you know, the most exciting names in Brazilian football at the moment. He's very so this is what Fabrizio said. He says he is a very talented offensive midfielder. He signed this week with a new agency, Rock Nation. It's the agency of Jay-Z, a very important agency. He already has a release clause in his contract. From what I'm hearing, it's 50 million euros, so the clause is there. People in Brazil believe that he is going to be the next big thing coming to Europe from Brazil. He goes on to say, what I can tell you is that Manchester United have sent their scouts to keep an eye on the player recently. Let's see if they decide to bid. Let's see if they will decide to enter the race with an official proposal. Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, and I watched a couple of videos of him on YouTube as well, and he looks absolutely unbelievable. And I think we desperately, desperately need some competition for Bruno Fernandes. We do. We don't really have any attacking midfielders who are, you know, currently competing with Bruno, do we? Obviously, Mason Mount, I don't think he's that good in that position. I prefer him in more of a kind of slightly deeper or on the wing. Hannibal, I think Hannibal looks good next to Casemiro, personally. Who else have we got in the centre attacking midfield? Eriksen I don't really like that much anymore. I think he's a good player, but I just think his legs are a little bit gone, aren't they? I think we definitely need somebody to be a direct competition with Bruno Fernandes, and this player is the perfect one. 17 years of age, somebody who would come to Manchester United and not expect to be starting every single game, somebody who'd expect to slowly break into the squad. You know, at 17 years of age, you're not expecting to start every single game for Manchester United, are you? You're expecting to slowly wean your way into the side. I mean, how old is Bruno Fernandes? This is something I haven't really thought about. So Bruno's 29 years of age. He turns 30 this year, actually. Oh no, he's just turned 29. So Bruno's only 29, but you know, imagine you bring in someone like this, right? He's 17 years of age. In 2 or 3 years, you're probably going to want to maybe either replace or have a new first team option for Bruno. This guy could be that person. But let me know what you guys think about that one. Yeah, I think he's good. Somebody says Eriksen is done. Yeah, I kind of do agree with you, to be honest. I really, really like Christian Eriksen. I think he's a really, really good player. He's had a great career. There's no doubt about it that he is a quality player, but I think his legs are gone a little bit, personally, for me. When I've seen him play in that midfield alongside Casemiro, he just doesn't look like he's got the engine anymore. He looks like he can manage one half of football at the level of the Premier League. That's how it looks from an outside perspective looking in, right? When he played 90 minutes, I think it was against Brighton? I can't remember who it was against, but he played 90 minutes, and by about the 50th minute, he looked completely done. So I do agree that I think Eriksen, he's got 2 years left on his contract. We're obviously going to be stay with him for those 2 years, but after that, obviously we're not going to give him a new contract. He's 31 years of age. Yeah, I don't think it's very good. Mila says, what club wants Sancho after all of that? Big clubs will keep away from him and small clubs can't afford him. Sancho doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia, so what choices do we have with him? We'll talk about Jadon Sancho in a minute. But yeah, it's a very good point. And welcome to everyone who's just joining in the last couple of minutes. Everyone who's just joined, please do smash a like on the video and please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. As you guys all know, we're on the road to 20k subscribers, which will be a massive, massive milestone for this channel. We're only 14 subscribers away from 19,500. So please do go and subscribe if you haven't already. And please do make sure to smash a like on the video. But yeah, let me know what you think about this guy. Do you think we need to start bringing in some more younger players? I think we do. I think we need to start planning for the future. When Bruno Fernandes signed, I thought it was... Sorry, not Bruno Fernandes. When Christian Eriksen signed, I thought it was a good signing. I did, but it's not for the future, is it? He was 30 when we signed him. He was past his best. Yes, he'd had a good season at Brentford, but there was no other top club interested in Christian Eriksen, let's be honest. It was us and Brentford who were battling for him. Tottenham were kind of being mentioned, but I wouldn't call Tottenham a top club. Obviously, they're doing well this season, but put it into perspective. When Tottenham were trying to get Christian Eriksen, Tottenham were not playing how they are now. So yeah, I think we do need to start prioritising these younger people. We need to start looking for the future, like we are with Garnacho, Hannibal, Dangor, Kobe Mainu. Like, those players are going to be the future of Rasmus Højlund. They're going to be the future of Manchester United, and I think we desperately need to start bringing in these talents like this guy from Brazil, and I'm all for it. So again, I don't know that much about him. I've watched a couple of videos. He looks like the real deal. Really, really good player, centre attacking midfielder. So let's see what happens with that one. Milas says £50 million for a teenager is too much. It's not pounds though, remember, it's euros. So what's that in pounds? Oh, yeah, I get it. It's a lot of money. Yeah, it's about £40 million. I mean, it's not terrible, is it? For supposedly the most promising player coming out of Brazil at the moment. £40 million. I don't think that's awful, personally. Like, I mean, how much did they pay for Neymar? Not Neymar, sorry, Vinicius. You know, like you got to compare it with other ones. I know Vinicius is an unbelievable player, but it took Vinny a couple of seasons to get to where he is at Real Madrid. He didn't just come in and hit the ground running immediately. Yeah, so Flamengo, there's exactly the same club. Flamengo sold Vinny to Real Madrid for 45 million euros. So it's about the same. It's around about the same amount of money. Obviously, it is a hell of a lot of money. You know, he was at that point. That was 5 years ago. Yeah, so I mean, at that point, he was 17 years of age. It's the same kind of thing, isn't it? And now he's worth 150 million, easy. So, yeah, I don't know. It all depends on how they develop them and all the rest of it. How they, you know, do they like England? Do they like English football? Antony says Christian Eriksen should be used in our FA Cup and Carabao Cup matches for his experiences and age. Yeah, I think a little bit further down the line, I think I would agree. But at the moment, I just love seeing Hannibal play. I love seeing Dangor play. I love seeing... obviously, I want to see Kobe Mainu play. I love seeing Pellistri play. I love seeing Garnacho play. Like, for me, I know it's a squad game, but I wouldn't even give Christian Eriksen much game time anymore unless it's coming off the bench maybe in the second half of the match if we need to, like, add a bit of professionalism, you know, a bit of, like Hannibal went in the second half against Crystal Palace the other night. You could tell he was one tackle away from a red card. That would have been the opportunity to bring in someone like Christian Eriksen. Obviously, Eriksen wasn't available that game, but I'm really, really happy that these young players are getting a chance. And I think we do need to start paving the way for the future because Manchester United has always been built on the youth. It's always been built on bringing through young players. And Hannibal, Dangor, Kobe Mainu, Pellistri, Garnacho. These are all people that we need to be prioritising for me. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that one. But yeah, I do agree that I think Christian Eriksen is definitely past his best. Lumen says, Kieran, is Amad Diallo a flop? I wouldn't say he's a flop personally. I don't think he's really had a chance. I think from what we saw of Amad Diallo, I thought he looks good. I genuinely thought Amad Diallo looked good. He went out on loan, didn't he, last season to Sunderland, was their player of the season, was absolutely unbelievable for them. Yes, that's in the Championship, but for a young player, 20 years of age at the time, to go and play in the Championship, which is even more physical than the Premiership. It's like, and they play like 50 games in the Championship, and he was unbelievable for them. I wouldn't say he was a flop personally. We only paid 21 million euros for him when you think about it like that, and he's still only 21 years of age. Like, that's not a flop in my eyes. That's about 15 million pounds. And he still hasn't really had an opportunity. Obviously, we've got him on a long-term contract. He is obviously injured at the moment with a knee injury. This is just a part of the process when you bring through these young people. You can't bring in how old was he when we brought in Amad? We brought him in 2021. So we've had him for 2 years. We bought him when he was 18. I would have been very surprised if we bought in an 18-year-old for 15 million and he was starting every single week immediately. Like, it's not comparable, is it? Obviously, if you brought in someone like Evan Ferguson, 18 years of age, for 100 million, you're going to be starting him every single week. But Evan Ferguson and Amad Diallo are at two different points in their career, you know? But yeah, no, I don't think Amad Diallo is a flop at all. I've got a lot of time for Amad Diallo. I think he'll come back into the team. I think he'll get minutes. And I think for 15 million pounds, 20 million euros, I think it's a good bit of business for Manchester United. And if we can make it work, it will look like a really, really good signing. But let me know what you guys think about Amad. Do you think it is... do you think Amad Diallo has been a success at Manchester United so far? I think he's done what he's supposed to. Paul says it's close to the same price we paid for Amad. Somebody says we need to get the trash out of Manchester United. You need to tell us all the players that need to leave. Yeah, Yeah, we will. Yeah, and he says you need to add more people to your channel. You need to add more people to your team. Your channel is growing. Yeah, we will start getting more people on the show in the coming probably months. So just at the moment, I wanted to just keep it between me and you, just a conversation between us. And we'll have to see. Somebody saying I thought Ahmad was 37 million. So on Transfer Market, the official fee that Manchester United paid up front was 21 million euros. There's loads of add-ons on the deal, but I would be very surprised if Manchester United have hit any of those add-ons because he's not played any football. So yeah, at the moment they've paid 21 million euros up front for Amad Diallo, which I think is a fair amount of money for him at that point in his career. But let me know what you think. Do you think Ahmad can actually get into this team, or do you think he is just going to be someone that's, you know, let go of in a couple of seasons' time? Let me know what your thoughts are on that one in the live chat below. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's keep things rolling on the show this morning. Right, what have we got here? Where are we? See what people are saying in the chat quickly before I move on. Gary says Hannibal will be injured and be out for 6 months. I'm not sure about that, mate. Where have you got that from? Have you been looking in your crystal ball? I mean, I hope Ahmad doesn't get injured. That would be really disappointing if Ahmad gets injured. Just a quick one as well, actually. Erik ten Hag will be doing his press conference this afternoon ahead of the Crystal Palace match. So we will be live for that. So make sure you do subscribe and hit the notification bell. We will bring you all of the main talking points from the Erik ten Hag press conference. It's usually around lunchtime, about 1 p.m. UK time in England. But obviously, I'll confirm that as soon as I know. There's a bit of news coming in about Hannibal as well, about this new contract. This is coming in from Jacques Talbot, who reports for The Times in the UK, and he says that Ten Hag is a big fan of Hannibal's running and pressing numbers. If anybody missed that yesterday, against Crystal Palace, Hannibal recorded the most distance covered out of any player in the Premier League this season. It was around 12.5 kilometres he ran in about 60 or 70 minutes. Remember, he came off at about 70 minutes, didn't he? And apparently he had the highest pressing stats out of any player in the whole Premier League this season against Crystal Palace. So fair play to him. He says Manchester United have an option to extend Hannibal's contract and are happy with the progress the midfielder is making in the first team following his display in the club's 3-0 victory over Crystal Palace on Tuesday evening. So I think that's probably the next stage for Manchester United, is to give him this contract. We'll have to wait and see what happens with that, though. Let's see what people are saying in the chat quickly. Somebody says, Tawanda says, I think Hannibal is a downgrade. What, so who do you think he's a downgrade on? Eriksen? I don't know. I think it's just a little bit, you know, he's only what? How old is Hannibal now? I was going to say he's 18, but I think he is a little bit older than that now, isn't he? Yeah, he's 20. He's just turned 20 years of age. I wouldn't say he's a downgrade. I think he's one of our most talented youth players, personally. Yeah, I think it's a little bit unfair to say he's a downgrade. I mean, on who? Scott McTominay? Christian Eriksen? I would say he's an upgrade on any of them. He's obviously not as good as Bruno Fernandes or Casemiro at this point, but he's just turned 20 and they're like nearly in their 30s. Al says Evan Ferguson will not be a flop. I would take him over Højlund any day of the week. Fair enough. And it also says, is Kobbie Mainoo to come back? So yes, we do have a bit of an update on Kobbie Mainoo to bring you. Kobbie Mainoo and Amad Diallo will be back after the October international break, which is around mid-October. So yeah, so we should see them both back in the Manchester United squad in the next couple of weeks. Really, really happy about that. Hopefully they get some game time. Hopefully Erik ten Hag continues to bring through these youth players. I hope that when all of our first team people come back, he doesn't just put all of them back in, because I think a lot of them haven't really shown what it means to be a Manchester United player at this point for me personally. Yeah, so I don't know why somebody in the chat is saying Hannibal is a downgrade. He's definitely not I mean, someone else is saying it though. Zaid saying, for me, Hannibal is McTominay 2.0. Lots of energy. Don't see much else he brings except an engine. He scored that goal though, didn't he? Against who was it against? Brighton. I mean, that was a beautiful goal, well outside the box. Vincent says his work rate is good, but less talent. I mean, so there's quite a lot of people in the chat who don't seem to like Hannibal. Antony says, what's Evan Ferguson's price tag come the January transfer window? I think Brighton will want 100 million for Evan Ferguson, personally. I think they're going to want an absolutely ridiculous amount of money. Obviously, the main transfer of the January transfer window will be, what's he called? Antony. Whether Manchester United go in for that, I don't think they will, personally. Obviously, he has just had all these gambling charges against him, betting charges. I think Manchester United will stay well clear of Antony, but it looks like Chelsea and Arsenal will be in the race for Antony. Liam says Hannibal has a bright future. Loads of teams have inquired about him this year. Some of you clearly aren't seasoned football fans. Yeah, I agree. I think Hannibal definitely has a bright future at Manchester United, and he's 100% got my back in. I think he's got the right attitude. I think he does have skills that. I think he does have talents to his game, and he's still very young. He's only just turned 20 years of age, to be starting for Manchester United 2 games in a row at the age of 20. I think he could go on to be a very, very special player. Anything can happen. Zaid says it's not that I don't like Hannibal. I think he's a good squad player. I think he can replace McTominay. Yeah, I agree with that. I do. I think he's better than McTominay. I think he's an improvement on McTominay. I'm not saying he's as good as, I don't know, Bruno Fernandes or Odegaard or, any of these types of players. Of course he isn't at this point in his career, but I think he's a very good option to bring into that midfield to add a bit more of that engine, a bit more of youth, and just to give us a bit more, variety in our options. Romano says Hannibal is way better than McTominay. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. I think McTominay's career at Manchester United, for me, is done. I think he needs to go in January. I think he needs to understand that he's not going to get any game time. He needs to understand that Dan Gore, Hannibal, Kobe Mainu, all of these people, in my opinion, should be ahead of McTominay. 150%. McTominay's what, 26, 27 now? He's not a young player anymore. Yeah, he's 27 in 1 month. 27. Like that, I know that's not that old in like the grand scheme of life, but for a player that's still branded as young, and he's in his prime now, Scott McTominay, 27 years of age, and he's got worse over the last 2 or 3 years, I think. He had 1 or 2 seasons, didn't he, a while ago, where he was okay. Emphasize the word okay. He was putting in 5 or 6 out of 10 performances every game. He's never been like an 8 out of 10 consistent player. He's not like a Bruno Fernandes who will get loads of assists and get goals and contribute to stuff. He doesn't really offer anything, in my opinion, and I think he definitely needs to go, and hopefully that will happen in January, because surely if you're Erik ten Hag and you're Manchester United, right, you look at the situation and you say, Scott McTominay can go. You've still got Dan Gore, you've still got Kobe Mainu, you've still got Hannibal Mejbri. You've got 3 players to replace him, and obviously you've got Amrabat and Casemiro and Eriksen and Donny van de Beek and Mason Mount and Bruno Fernandes. I mean, you've got about 10 players in that midfield. And there's only 3 positions to fill. Like, we definitely don't need him. We don't need him for squad depth. We don't need him because he's from the youth academy. Like, he needs to go, for me personally. Let's see what else people are saying. No one says Hannibal is still developing. His hair has reached his prime, though. Yeah, his hair. I love his hair. I do. Lumen says, Kieran, what areas of his game should Hannibal improve? I think I need to see a little bit more of him, to be honest. I think, I'm still not entirely sure what position is Hannibal's best position. If anybody knows in the chat what Hannibal's best position is, please do let me know. Because at the moment he's kind of playing in the role next to Casemiro, isn't he? But yeah, let me know what you guys think about Hannibal. What's his best position? What do you think he can go on to be? He's kind of like an all-round player, isn't he? I think he's very high work rate. I think that's why Erik ten Hag likes him. But yeah, let me know what you think, and let's see what else people are saying in the chat quickly. Sean says McTominay is useless. He must go. Yeah, I agree. Corey says Hannibal is on $5,000 a week while Jadon Sancho is on $350,000 a week. I mean, it's absolutely mad, isn't it? Absolutely crazy. Lumen says, Kieran, you should do a special stream on Hannibal only. He seems to be a favourite. Yeah, definitely. We will do a stream about some of these players and do some profiles and stuff at some point as well. Al says, should we sell Bruno? We were apparently offered 70 mil by Saudi. I mean, that's a difficult question. Should we sell Bruno? I don't think so. I think Bruno is one of our best players. If a Saudi club came in with like a 300 million euros offer, obviously you'd have to accept it, wouldn't you? But 70 million euros for Bruno, I don't think that's very good, personally. I really don't. What's that, about 50, 60 million? And we're being quoted 50 million for some Brazilian 17-year-old who no one's ever heard of. Like, it's not really comparable, is it? To go from somebody who has some of the best stats in world football to a Brazilian who no one's ever heard of for the same amount of money. So yeah, for me, it's a massive no. Bruno is one of my favourite players. I think he's one of our best players. I think he's one of our most, talented players. It's just whether Erik ten Hag can make sure that he implements into the team properly. Let's see what else people are saying. Loads of people are saying Hannibal is an 8. Yeah, okay, fair enough. The Old Trafford says Maddison would have been a better midfielder to sign instead of Mason Mount, cheaper and better. You know what, mate? I do agree with you. I do. I think James Maddison has been absolutely unbelievable since he joined Tottenham. I'm not going to judge Mason Mount yet. He's only played like 2 games for Manchester United and then got injured. But the game he played against Crystal Palace, though, Mason Mount looked unbelievable. He looked on the level of James Maddison. That was one game, though, for 45 minutes. We need to see that consistently in the Premier League, like James Maddison has been putting up. But yeah, I do agree. At this moment, it does look like Tottenham have got the better deal, to be fair. But it's still early days. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Geisha says, at this stage, while Bruno is still marketable, I'll sell him for 80 million. I don't know, mate, to be honest. I can't see Manchester United selling Bruno Fernandes. Like, I know some people don't like him. I know some people think that he doesn't help the team and all the rest of it. But I think Bruno is our best player, if not in the top kind of 2 or 3 of our best player. Paul says Bruno is good for a couple more years. Yeah, I agree with that. I think in a couple more years, you definitely need to replace Bruno Fernandes. He's just turned 29, so next year he'll be 30. I wonder how many years he's got left on his contract. Let me just have a quick look at that for you. So he signed a new contract in 2022. It was a 4-year deal. So he's got 3 years left on his, and there's an option for a third of the year. So he could be here for another 4 years. He's got 3 years left on his contract with an option of 1 extra year. So yeah, I mean, how old would he be then? He'd be 33 if we kept him for his whole contract. Maybe Manchester United try and sell him when he's got a year or 2 left of his contract. Maybe a club in Saudi come in at that point. But yeah, I definitely would not be taking Bruno Fernandes out of this team for me personally. Let's see what else people are saying. Somebody says, no offense to Mount, but he has been slow. Yeah, but he's only played 2 games, so we've got to give him a bit of a chance, don't we? Joshua says we should sign Osimhen in January to remove some of the pressure from Rasmus Højlund. I would absolutely love to sign Osimhen, but I think for 150 million euros, we're going to have to pull some money out of God knows where. Luma says, Kieran, would you swap Sancho plus cash for Frankie de Jong of Barcelona? I mean, yeah, of course I would. I'd do anything to get Frankie de Jong to Manchester United, but he's not going to come. Frankie de Jong does not want to come to Manchester United. He's made that very, very clear. He wants to stay at Barcelona. He's not going to leave. So, yeah. Everybody who's just joined as well in the last couple of minutes, please do smash a like on the video and subscribe. I've just dropped a link in the chat to subscribe. We're only 10 subscribers away from 19,500. So please do go and subscribe if you haven't already. I'll read out a couple more of your questions before the show ends. Antony says if we sold Bruno, we should be demanding nothing less than 150 million. Yeah, I mean, it would have to be that type of money for me. I think anything less than that is not really worth it. Corey says Bruno is our captain. Maddison will crumble quick, and Mount is only going to get better. If you can't see the brilliance of Bruno, then you can't see United. I 100% agree. I think Bruno is our best player, genuinely. Obviously, it's not really comparable because a defender does a different job to Bruno, you know, a centre back. But by way of his stats, by way of what he's contributed since he's signed, I think he's had the biggest impact out of any player we've signed in the last 10 years, without a shadow of a doubt. I'd say he's probably one of the only players that we've signed in the last 10 years that's actually been a success. You know, if you look through some of our recent signings, you know, obviously Casemiro was a success, Martinez was a success. But then if you look beyond that, I mean, we bought people like Fellaini, we bought people like, who else have we bought? We bought Mkhitaryan, we bought Alexis Sanchez, Di Maria, Lukaku. Like, we've bought Paul Pogba. We've bought so many people who haven't worked at Manchester United. And Bruno Fernandes came in and has been putting up unbelievable stats year on year. So big ups to Bruno Fernandes. Somebody's asking about what the Brazilian person is called. Just go back to the beginning of the show and all will be revealed, my friend. Zaid says, do you think that in the near future that you will have call-in shows? Yeah, that's a really cool idea, actually. I haven't ever thought about that. Yeah, maybe, actually. I'll have a look into how to doing it because I don't really know how you do the call-in type things. But yeah, if people want that, if people are interested in those types of things, I'd be more than happy to explore it. But right, I'm going to wrap the video up here, guys. Please do make sure to smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We will, of course, be back at 6 o'clock for your usual evening show. If anything breaks between now and 6 o'clock, we always go live, as you know. So please do make sure to smash a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and I'll catch you all later.